When you are tuned in to that which is source, when you are tuned in, when you tune your frequency, now you do it all the time. Sometimes you just don't do it all the time, And we want you to know when you're doing it and know when you're not doing it, because when you know when you're doing it and know when you're not doing it, if you like it, you can do it more often, especially when you understand what it is. So these things we want you to know. That which we call source, that which man often calls God, that which we refer to you as your inner being, that fullest part of you is always available to you right here, right now. But you have to do the tuning work, because the frequency of source is already set to a frequency, to a guiding light, to something that you have to work your way to. You have to feel your way to it, you see. So when you're thinking thoughts and they don't feel good, stop it. Or if you're thinking thoughts and they don't feel good, then try to find a thought that feels better. When you try to think a thought that feels better in the midst of thinking a thought that doesn't feel good, it's hard, because you've already often established a frequency, and law of attraction is already saying, oh, if you don't like that one, then you probably won't like this one either. If you don't like that one, then how about this one? If you feel this bad, you can feel even badder. In other words, law of attraction is not discriminating. Law of attraction just dishes up whatever you got going on, you see. So there are two things that you could do if you really want to get hold of your personal vibrational frequency. One is make a decision to appreciate every chance you get. And sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. Have you noticed it? Sometimes something will happen and appreciation will just well up in you. Goosebumps will bump up all over you. You'll be having one of those tuned in, tapped in, turned on moments, and you know it. You can just feel the fullness of source flowing with you. But sometimes when you're not feeling good and you try to appreciate, it just backfires. It just reminds you of how far you are from where you want to be. We tease with these affirmation cards that when you try to affirm, when you take an affirmation card that someone else wrote, and someone else did write those, it was us. They're brilliant. They are brilliant. Best words ever put on paper for tuning a frequency to well-being. These particular cards are about money and quite a bit relative to well-being in general, but it's focused toward money. And as you focus upon them, if you're not in the vicinity of the vibration of these cards, then you'll hate them. They'll just remind you what you've not got going on. I'm developing the skill to direct my thought. I can make a career of living happily ever after. Sure, I can. Welcome to planet Earth. I can transform my own world. If that were true, it would be different. I can see my world through the eyes of source. I can see my world through the eyes of source. So if you're not in the vibrational frequency of these cards, they don't seem so brilliant. And affirming, all right, maybe I'm not focused enough. Life is always working out for me. I can earn money by doing what I love to do. They don't pay you for surfing. I can create both money and the time to enjoy it. I'm going to send that to my boss. Whatever I desire, I can acquire. I'm going to send that to him too. So you get what we're getting at as we deliberately mock our own brilliance. Because the frequencies have to match up before it feels good. The frequencies have to match up before it feels good. And if the frequencies don't match up and you push it, you'll just dig in where you are. So when we say there are two things that we would do, these are the two things. We would appreciate every chance we get if the appreciation comes easy. And if it doesn't come easy, we wouldn't push it. Have you ever had a conversation with someone who disagreed with you about something and you knew you were right? They knew you were wrong and they knew they were right, but you knew you were right. So you talk, trying to convince the other, and what happens? You're both just more sure that you're right, because you just dig into where you are. Well, the same thing happens when you decide to affirm from a vibrational vantage point that isn't in alignment with what you want. There's a backlash in it that makes you hate law of attraction. It makes you hate Abraham. It makes you sure that there's something inherently wrong with you, and you walk away from it certain that you're unworthy, and that's why things aren't going well. And it isn't anything like that. It's just a vibrational variance that you can't buck the current of. So if you try to appreciate and can't, then the next plan of action, and it really works well, is just get as general as you can about whatever it is that's bothering you. Because if you try to appreciate and you can't, what's happened is you've activated a very specific frequency about something unwanted. For example, you say, I don't have enough money. And that's a sort of gentle thing to say, except that it means I also can't do the things I really want to do. And it also means I'm worried about more negative repercussions coming. And what if it really gets bad? And what if I end up with no place to live and no car to drive and no food to eat? In other words, the more specific you get, the worse it feels when you're focused upon the opposite of what you want. Do you agree? So there's a tendency, because you are oriented, we love you very much, toward problem solving, there's a tendency to get really specific about the problem in your effort to solve it. But all that does is keep a vibration that is opposite of what you want, and a vibration that is opposite of who you are, active in your vibration. It just makes it harder and harder. And so then you try harder and harder. You do more processes, you make more affirmations, and you practice without meaning to, often the opposite vibration of what you're reaching for. Where if you decide you will go general, you see, if you're really specifically knowing what you don't want, you're in the worst feeling place. If you get more general about it, you'll feel better. And from generally knowing what you don't want, you can generally know what you do want. But from specifically knowing what you don't want, you can't find the specifics of what you do want right here, right now. Now you've launched them. In other words, the opposite of the wave, when you really know what you don't want, what you do want has been projected vibrationally into your vortex, and the source within you has become a vibrational match to it. And technically speaking, you are it. In other words, when you're sick, you are weller vibrationally than you were before you got sick. If you have a financial crisis, there's more money amassed for you vibrationally than before the crisis happened, because that's just the way this wave, this vibrational wave works. But the question isn't, did you launch the rocket? The question isn't, does the vortex of creation hold your vibrational improved life? It does, it always does. The question is, what is your possibility of tuning to the frequency of what you do want when you're so tuned to the frequency of what you don't want? That's really what creation hinges on. It hinges on your ability to move your to move your average, going on all day, focus, to move it into the place that's more in alignment with who you really are and what you really want than with what you don't want, and sometimes with what you've got. And it all hinges upon you being so, we love you very much, intoxicated with what is. You know you are. What is so real. And you think it's real because you can hear it and see it and smell it and taste it and touch it. So it's real. And not only can you, others can too. So when others look at what is and agree that what is isn't what you want, it feels compelling enough that you keep wanting to talk about it, you keep wanting to explain it, you keep wanting to think about it, you keep wanting to keep it active in your vibration, because after all, it's real, and you don't want to be delusional. You really do. You don't want to be delusional. You don't want to stick your head in the sand. You don't want to not face reality. And we say, why would you face a reality that you don't want? Because it's real. Well, it may be temporarily real, but it's past tense.